Okay, I want to show you how to add and subtract fractions with different denominators. So I'm going to start out with a problem where you would add the two fractions. So if I had the fraction 3/4 plus 5/8. Okay, I can't add these two fractions until my denominators are the same. So a way to do that is to either multiply the two denominators, which in this case is going to give me 4 times 8, which is 32. That's going to be a bigger denominator with bigger numerators. But another way is to find the multiples of the two denominators. And by finding the multiples, you're skip counting. And you're counting by 4s in this case and by 8s. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the 4s. I'm going to get 4, 8, and I've already found the denominator they have in common, which is 8. So I'm going to go ahead and use that because I won't have to change 5/8 at all. I'll only have to change the 3/4. So I'm going to write 3/4 over here. And I know I have to convert it to an equivalent fraction, but it's got to have a denominator of 8. So I know that 4 times 2 gives me 8. So I have to do that, the same thing to the numerator. So that gives me 3 times 2, which is 6. Then I can add the 5/8 to the 6/8. I keep the denominator the same, and I add 6 plus 5, which is 11. Okay, now I can work this out and do 11 divided by 8, or I know that 8 will go into 11 only one time. 11 minus 8 is 3, and I keep the denominator the same. So if I added 3/4 and 5/8, I'm going to end up with 1 3/4. Okay? Because I added and converted the 3/4 to 6/8 and then added 5/8 and got 11/8. I converted the improper fraction to a mixed number and I got 1 3/8. Now, if I want to subtract two fractions, and if one is 7/8 and the other one is 3/16, okay, I can multiply the two denominators, or I can just count by each denominator and get the multiples until I find one, the first one they have in common. And the first one they have in common is also known as the least common denominator, the LCD. So you might see that later in some of your assignments. So if I'm going to find the multiples of 8, I'm going to start out with 8 and then 16. And I notice that I already have the other denominator, so I'm going to use 16. I'll only have to convert one fraction because the 3/16 will stay the same, so I'm going to convert the 7/8. So if I take 7/8 and I know that 8 times 2 gives me 16, I have to do the same to the numerator. So I'll have 7 times 2, which is 14. So now I have 14 over 16 plus my 3/16. I'm going to have the denominator the same, 16. So I'm going to, this was supposed to be subtraction. So let me change that. 14 minus 3, which is 11. Now, since this is already, there's nothing that can go into both 11 and 16, but 1 11/16 is reduced to lowest terms. So I'm finished with that problem. And that's how you would convert the two fractions to a common denominator. And you usually want to go with the smaller denominator by finding the multiples. But if you can't remember that, you can just multiply the two denominators and then do the same process of converting whatever you multiply by the denominator, you would multiply by the numerator. So that's how you would attack these kinds of problems.